welcome to another episode of my channel, The Navy Nurse. In this episode, I am going to talk to you guys about the role of a corpsman, what is a corpsman, and how we as Navy nurses work with corpsmen in the military. First of all, before I get into it, I will say if you hear whistling and whooshing in my background, it's because we are having a typhoon outside. So for those of you who don't know, I am stationed here in Okinawa, Japan, and we do get a good amount of typhoons here, and we are currently in what's called T-Core 1 Echo, or 1 emergency, meaning because the typhoon is so strong, the winds and rain are so strong, we have to stay inside. The winds are so strong that they lift up cars, lift up concrete rocks and throw them against things. So that's what you are hearing outside. So pardon that. Anyway, role of corpsman. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what a corpsman is, it is a hospital corpsman. It is an enlisted person who is like a medical assistant and like a licensed practical nurse. The reason I say medical assistant and licensed practical nurse is they can do more than a medical assistant, but a little less than an LPN. So they fall somewhere between those two roles. They are able to assess patients, give certain medications. They can give certain IV medications as well. And they can take on patients. The only things that they can't do, or some of the things that they can't do, are work with PICC lines. They can't push certain vasoactive drugs. They can't push any narcotics or give narcotics, that kind of thing. So they, corpsmen, are enlisted, so their ranks will be like E1, E2, E3. It'll be hospital corpsman. It'll be HR, HA, HN, HM3, HM2, HM1. So that's E1 all the way up to E5, E6. Whereas officers, we are O1, O2, O3, so on and so forth. So it starts ensign, lieutenant JG, lieutenant commander. So those are the two differences in rank, because I know some of you are not in the military and don't know that, so did want to explain that. Corpsmen, so they go to a 14-week school in San Antonio, Texas. In that school, excuse me, it is a general duty corpsman A school. So they are learning basic skills like medical terminology, even how to make up a bed, how to do activities of daily living with patients. They're learning medication administration, the 6 rights of medication, how to give meds, how to do phlebotomy skills, how to start an IV bag, how to start an IV and flush a line, those types of things. So they're learning skills. They're not necessarily learning critical thinking and pathophysiology type of things, like how we go in depth in nursing school. So when they get out of core school, they have learned the basics, but it is our job as nurses to continue that learning for them, to continue teaching them. So they might have only started one IV in core school, and that's basically to sign that checkoff sheet saying, okay, we've taught you the skill, you've shown a competency, and then let's move on to the next skill. So when they get to their first duty station, and I'm talking inpatient side here, you're gonna have to teach them. They're going to have to get more experiences. So although you might be very good at starting an IV or drawing blood, it is your job to tell that corpsman, all right, you're going to come with me, you're going to start this line, or you're going to draw these labs at this time, so that you can get them comfortable touching patients and get them really good at doing those types of skills. Because I will say, when it gets super busy, you are going to need the corpsman, and you're going to have to feel confident in that corpsman's skills so that we can get the job done. So, example. So I work in an ICU. We typically have 2 corpsmen on our shift, and they have gotten so good where they can primary a patient. So by primary a patient, I mean they will take on that patient. They will do the assessments, they will do the vitals, they will do any blood draws, give any medications within their scope of practice. When the corpsmen are giving medications, they do have to check with the nurse so that we can make sure it's, that we're going through the 6 rights with them and we're not making any medication errors. So when you're working with a corpsman, you can fill them out, you can teach them skills, and you have that confidence in them to say, okay, I know that corpsman is going to take care of that patient well, so I trust them to primary this patient. You as a nurse, you do have to oversee the corpsman, obviously, because they are working under your license. So even though the corpsman is doing their own assessments, you still have to do your assessment and go over their charting. But it is super helpful if the corpsman is primarying that patient. So other things that corpsmen can do. So I talked about general duty corpsman A school. There are corpsmen that have C schools, so they learn more specialized type of things. For example, there are corpsmen who are solely lab techs. There are corpsmen who are cardiovascular technicians, respiratory technicians, preventive medicine technicians. So the general duty corpsmen are the ones that you are primarily going to be working with, but the corpsmen with the specialties, you will be calling them and working with them in certain capacities as well. So for example, whenever I have a vented patient or someone who needs a breathing treatment and I just can't get to it at that time, I will definitely call the respiratory technician, and I'll be like, can you please help me and do this treatment for me, or look at these vent settings and why is my vent alarming, and can you help me with this? So they help in that capacity as well. A lot of corpsmen will also want to be nurses. So it's also awesome because you've already went through nursing school and you know how hard it is and what nursing school focuses on, and you can be that source of information for that corpsman who has questions about nursing school. And definitely dive deep into pathophysiology on those slow shifts where you can dig deep into, okay, why is this process happening with this patient, or why are we doing this certain type of treatment? That way you get corpsmen involved, because I have been to places where the corpsmen, they're just doing vital signs and drawing blood, and that's it. So what I see happens in those scenarios is, okay, the corpsman is kind of disengaged, they're just like, okay, I'm here to do vitals and labs and that's it, I'm gonna sit on my phone the rest of the shift. But if you bring them on and you're teaching them assessments, why are we giving this medication, all right, you're gonna do this treatment, you're gonna help me change this dressing, if you're including them, then they take on more of an active role with that patient and they feel more like a team player, and everyone's a team and that shift works well, like a well-oiled machine. So that's why I tell anybody who is a brand new nurse corps officer, or even people who have been nurse corps officers for a while, actually, you gotta include your corpsmen. They are a significant piece of the puzzle, and you want to keep your team tight so that you can take care of your patients better. So that's all I have for today. I really wanted to talk about this because this is a subject that is near and dear to my heart, because I used to be a corpsman and I had awesome preceptors and awesome nurses who were there to guide me and teach me a lot on my journey. So we should be doing that as well as nurse corps officers. Please keep giving me your questions and your ideas for videos. I have a lot on my list here. I'm slowly working through them, and I want to give you good information and good videos. So I apologize if it takes me a while to get to your video when I said I will. I just want to make sure it's quality information before I put it out there. So thank you again. I appreciate your interest and your comments, your questions. Keep them coming, and I will see you all soon.